The map wasn't drawn from imagination. It was copied from memory. Every building, every alley, every dead-end street was documented with chilling precision by children who had never left their small Ohio town. But when investigators followed their directions to the edge of the old woods, they found nothing but undisturbed forest and a heavy, metallic smell hanging in the air, until one of them noticed the silence. Not just quiet, but complete auditory absence, as if sound itself had been vacuumed from that precise location. His equipment registered normal atmospheric pressure, but his ears popped painfully, and his own heartbeat became a distant, muffled thrum. That's when the whispers began. Not from the woods, but from the empty space where the city should have been. Voices speaking in perfect unison about things no child should know. The children weren't imagining a secret city. Something was using them to map its way into our world. On a Tuesday afternoon, they ventured to the place. Only two returned. The third man was gone, but he left his drawings behind. What they discovered on those pages was not art, but a warning. The sketches depicted things that should not exist. Things that watched from the shadows. Millbrook, Ohio. Cicadas hummed a constant, drowsy chorus, the air thick with the smell of cut grass and hot asphalt. This was the kind of place where nothing ever happened, until the summer those kids started drawing. A town so ordinary it felt like a painted backdrop. This is where we meet our three guides. Sarah, the pragmatic older sister. Her brother Leo, a dreamer with a sketchbook permanently under his arm. And their best friend, Mike, the skeptic, who believed in bikes and baseball, not ghosts. The air carried the scent of cut grass and distant rain, a familiar summer smell that would soon twist into something else. In that grainy footage, a shadow detached itself from a tree line, moving against the wind. It began, as these things often do, in a place the adults had long forgotten. Havelock House, a Victorian monstrosity at the end of Willow Street, had been condemned for decades. Local legend claimed Old Man Havelock went mad, ranting about the quiet neighbors, before he vanished without a trace. On a dare, the children approached its rusted gate, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and old rot. Sarah, trying to sound brave, whispered, "It's just a creepy old house." Leo stared at the darkened windows, his attention fixed on the glass. A faint scent of ozone and old detergent hung in the damp air. Mike's voice was barely a whisper, tight with apprehension. What if his ghost is doing laundry? That would be unsettling. From somewhere deeper in the house came the soft rasp of fabric sliding against metal. They're not broken. It's waiting. Leo became consumed. He sketched the house obsessively, from every possible angle. The air in his study grew thick with the scent of ozone and graphite, cold seeping through the floorboards. Each new drawing was accompanied by the faint, persistent sound of scratching from within the walls. But then, the drawings changed. A perfectly normal sketch of the old mansion filled one page. Then he turned the page. The same house stared back, but now sprouted impossible wings and twisted towers that defied all architecture. The page after revealed a map, not of a house at the end of Willow Street, but of a sprawling, intricate city of narrow streets and identical windowed buildings. He called it the Quiet City. He insisted he hadn't invented it. He said he remembered it from his dreams. And then Mike and Sarah started dreaming too. Their sleep became filled with the same silent streets, the same windowed facades watching them. The air in their waking hours carried the scent of ozone and old paper, as if the dream city was bleeding through into reality. Sarah, it wasn't a normal dream at all. The world was utterly silent. You'd walk those vacant roads, and the air itself felt thick with a watching presence. You could never see them clearly. Just shifting, silent shapes behind the glass. The worst part was the humming. Not a sound, but a vibration in your teeth. Like the whole city was a machine, sleeping. The air grew heavy, tasting of ozone and damp concrete. Then, the maps got more detailed. Leo sketched street names like Hush Boulevard and Echo Lane, his pencil tracing a central spire labeled the listening place. Sarah, our researcher, combed through old county surveys and historical society records, her fingers brushing dust from brittle pages. The air grew heavy with the scent of aged paper and mildew as she searched, but found nothing. No mention, no trace. The listening place didn't exist in any record, a silent void in history that shouldn't be. Sarah hunched over the library computer, frustration etched into her face, while Mike pored over the maps with a skeptical eye. Mike dismissed it all as imagination, but Sarah's certainty was rooted in something deeper, a memory she couldn't place. She knew the scent of that place, the damp earth, the faint metallic tang of ozone, and the underlying rot that clung to the air. It wasn't imagination. It was a visceral, unsettling familiarity that made her question everything. The scent of ozone and old paper lingered in the air, a combination I'd never encountered before. Then came the discovery. A lockbox buried beneath a loose floorboard in Leo's own closet. The air grew thick and cold as they stared at the metal container. A heavy dread settled in the room, the only sound their shallow breathing. Inside, not toys, but brittle, yellowed papers, architectural blueprints, unfurling like ancient skin of the quiet city, signed in a spidery hand. Alistair Havelock, 1937. The line between reality and nightmare dissolved. Havelock hadn't just dreamed of the city. He'd tried to build a door to it. His house wasn't a home. It was a beacon. The air within grew thick with the scent of ozone and old stone, a cold dampness seeping into the bones of the structure. Every night, a low, resonant hum vibrated through the floorboards, a frequency felt more than heard. It was a siren call, etched not in sound, but in the very geometry of the place, pulling at something just beyond the edge of sight. And now, it was calling to Leo. Leo whispered into the oppressive dark, the flashlight beam trembling in his hand. He couldn't finish it, he breathed, the words barely audible. A metallic scent of ozone and old rot filled the air. The door. It's in the basement. The door was ajar just enough. He insisted we could move silently through that gap. A metallic scent, like old blood and wet stone, seeped from the opening. Before Havelock House, the three of us stood frozen, the only sound the frantic drum of our own hearts. A frigid, bone-dry gust, carrying the scent of ancient dust and sharp ozone, erupted from the abyss below. They never should have ventured here. Yet how could anyone turn away from a mystery that had literally crashed into their world? How could you say no when your younger brother, his gaze holding an unnerving certainty, whispers, "It's real"? I know the way in. The flashlight beam illuminated ancient stone steps descending into absolute darkness. Mike's recorded voice trembled with apprehension as he pleaded, "This is a terrible idea." Leo's unnaturally calm voice echoed from somewhere below, "Wait up! It's just down here." His final words hung in the damp air. The street begins right here. The basement wasn't a basement at all. The stairs descended far deeper than the house's physics should have permitted. Then they emerged, not into a cellar, but onto a desolate cobblestone street. The air was cold and carried the faint, metallic scent of old rain on stone. This was the quiet city, a place of stark shadows and utter stillness. Endless, uniform buildings rose before them, their dark, reflective windows swallowing the light. The world was utterly still. No movement, no sound, save the camera's own faint hum and their ragged breathing. The air grew heavy, thick, with a sub-audible vibration that seemed to emanate from the structures themselves. Sarah's voice was a strangled whisper. "Oh my God, it's exactly like the drawings." They trudged through the endless, silent metropolis, a flawless geometric maze that seemed to warp time itself. Then, a palpable shift in the air, a sudden, crushing weight of observation. It was as if 1,000 unseen eyes had simultaneously fixed upon them, pressing in from the oppressive gloom. A metallic scent, like ozone and old iron, tainted the cold, damp air. The low hum intensified, now threaded with faint whispers. Countless voices murmuring just beyond hearing. "They're welcoming us," Leo whispered, his voice a fragile thread. "We just have to be quiet. We have to stay." The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old iron, and Mike felt a primal dread take hold. His mind seized. Panic. Mike's entire worldview shattered, replaced by raw, primal terror. The air grew heavy with the metallic scent of ozone and something faintly rotting. His breath hitched, the cold dampness of the place seeping into his bones. "Mike." "Leo." "No, this is wrong. We're leaving." Mike seized Leo's arm, and Leo turned with vacant, glassy eyes. The dark windows around them seemed to ripple, distorting the outside world. A faint scent of ozone and damp earth hung in the air. Leo's voice was a hollow whisper. "You're too loud, Mike." The low hum swelled into a crushing, soundless roar. The camera jerked violently, the world becoming a nauseating smear of motion. A sharp, metallic scent of ozone cut through the air. Sarah's scream tore through the silence, raw and utterly desperate. Shadows peeled from the buildings, not shapes, but voids where light should have been, flowing toward them with liquid intent. Mike's grip failed. The camera clattered to the stones. Through the fallen lens, we see frantic feet pounding the glistening pavement. Sarah's, then Mike's, fleeing in encroaching darkness. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and damp stone, their ragged breaths the only sound against the silent pursuit. Leo's small, sneaker-clad feet paused for a moment, then pivoted, and began moving with unsettling calmness deeper into the city's concrete arteries. The gathering shadows didn't just follow him. They seemed to drink him in, swallowing his small form as if he were sinking into a pool of liquid darkness. Then the screen dissolved into violent static, the electronic snowstorm erasing the scene like a memory being forcibly deleted. Present day. A police evidence photo reveals Leo's final drawing, discovered on his bedroom floor. A crude but unmistakable map of the exact sewer system where his small shoes made their last prints. Mike and Sarah stumbled from Havelock House, utterly alone. The image was simple, almost cheerful. Leo holding hands with two tall, featureless shadows. They stood on Hush Boulevard, a place whose name now carried a sickening irony. He had labeled it, "My New Family," a caption that curdled the air with dread. On Willow Street, they were found trembling violently, mute for days. The air carried a faint scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old pennies. Officially, Leo Jameson was declared missing, presumed lost in the state forest. But the case felt anything but closed to those who saw their hollow, frozen stares. Sarah, now an adult, sits in a stark interview room, her expression haunted, her voice drops to a whisper. carrying the weight of decades. They never found a body. They never found anything. A long pause hangs in the air before she continues. Her words laced with a grim certainty. Because he's not in the woods. A single tear traced a path through the grime on Sarah's cheek. The scent of damp earth and something metallic hung in the air. He's home, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant scratching of branches. He's where the map always led. We were the visitors. Her final words carried a terrible weight. He was the one they were waiting for. Night falls over Havelock House as the camera pushes slowly toward its darkened silhouette. In one top-floor window, long sealed with weathered boards, a single, faint light flickers to life for just a moment. That brief illumination casts the unmistakable silhouette of a small boy against the glass, looking outward into the night. We leave you with this question. We have maps for everything. Roads, stars, the human genome. But what if there are places that actively resist detection by satellites and surveys? What if they only reveal themselves to dreamers, to those who draw, to the quiet observers? Tonight, when you tuck them in, take a closer look at your child's drawings. Seek out the peculiar avenues, the names that don't belong on any sign, and if you discover a metropolis that shouldn't exist, exercise the utmost caution in your inquiries, for within the quiet city, your every whisper is heard. The words, "the quiet city," glowed faintly in the darkness, then dissolved into nothingness. An ozone scent, sharp and electric, lingered in the air where the letters had been. A heavy, oppressive stillness settled in, broken only by a distant, rhythmic dripping. The void felt cold and damp against the skin, like the touch of forgotten stone.